There is no one like Jesus. Praise God. It's good to be home at Tampa Live. So thankful to be home. Amen. What a move of God in the Philippines. You'll hear more about it next week. Just an absolute incredible time. Jared and Rebecca Gully speaking at the youth camp in Baguio, Philippines, about a 5-hour drive north of Manila. 240 some received the Holy Ghost for the first time. We give God praise and thank God for a beautiful manifestation like that. I'm not sure the number, 3,200 or so, I think 1,500 in the first cluster and about 1,800 in the second cluster, 3,300 in attendance. And one of the most enjoyable things at this phase, you can be seated, at this phase of my life, I'm still very, very young. I was thinking, Chloe, do you sing that song your mom sang normally? Like, do you sing those verses? No? Okay, because I was thinking that was like a mom and a daughter, and I was trying to figure out which one you liked better, your version or your mom's version. But and I guess I was thinking that because when I was preaching in the Philippines, I preached each Sunday and I preached on Wednesday. But typically I preach like every single day I'm there, and I wasn't this time. I was just celebrating Jared Gully's ministry and running video cameras. And no joke, I was running around with media and filming people and dancing and leading worship. And it was one of the most gratifying moments. And it was similar to what I watched with Rob. And it was similar to what I watched with Isabella Rincon when she was singing on this platform. Watching people grow into their callings and purpose is one of the most rewarding experiences being a pastor you could ever have. Looking over this congregation and feeling the depth of the presence of God settling in on you and watching you lose yourself in worship. I cannot tell you, today I stood there and right there but at that row, and I just kept worshiping and I kept crying, and I felt the presence of God, but it was more than that. I was sensing and watching, as you all were, this word from the Lord as Rob spoke. I was watching that young girl, the Rincons, who were missionaries in China and ended up here in Tampa, and she was standing on this stage singing, and I couldn't help it but think, look what God is doing. And when I look around this congregation and I see you, I think to myself, what else and who else are becoming the best version of themselves in Jesus Christ? I want every one of you to have victory. I want every one of you to walk on another level of God's power and dominion. I want every one of you to find joy and fulfillment and leave the scars and the battles and the bondage behind and move into something supernatural. Let's do it together, church. Let's don't leave one behind. Let's grab people around us and pull them up to another level in the spirit. Let's go up together. Amen? Boy, it feels good in the house. Look at someone and say, finish. Say it again. Say, finish. I want to preach to finishers today. Finishers. Is anyone planning on finishing? Completing your task. Finishing the course. Psalms 46:1 says it this way. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in time of trouble. God is not your refuge from trouble. Let's read it again. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in time, in trouble. God is not your refuge from trouble. He is your refuge in trouble. Understand that principle, and that alone will answer many of your questions about the operative nature of faith. That God is not your refuge from trouble. God is your refuge in trouble. God is with you, and you are not alone. This battle is not yours, but the Lord's. God did not promise he would prevent trouble, but he declared he is with you in trouble. And there is a significant difference. Unfortunately, Jesus Christ has been marketed as an elixir, a cure-all, a snake oil. Serve God and you will have no trouble. But let me make it plain. You can't have a testimony without a test. And you will never know him to be a refuge if you never have trouble. But he is your strength in the night. He is your victory in the battle. God does not prevent trouble, but he assures you he will be with you in trouble. It is trouble that makes you extraordinary. Rob told us to think of the fire as a forge. And quite frankly, there are times in your life when you think you're in trouble, but you're not in trouble. You're just in training. You're in preparation. You are not alone. And what you see as trouble, God sees as strength. For in our weakness, he is made strong. I wish someone today would make up your mind to finish, to rise above what holds you back. God is our refuge. Say refuge. He is a strong tower that the righteous run into and are saved. Somebody ought to make a decision. He is where you run. I don't know where you run, but I have made a decision long ago. He is where I'll run. The science of the brain teaches us that when we create patterns and habits, we literally develop pathways that are burned into the fiber of our mind, reactionary responses that do not require conscious thought. So let me explain it this way. When you learned to drive, some of you are still learning, and you learned to back out of the garage, there were multiple pieces of information that had to be processed simultaneously. The space on either side of the car, the correct gear and the direction to put the car in, the cars coming down the road, the length of the driveway, the proper rate of acceleration, the proper duration and time to stop. And all of that required focus and concentration. But the more you did that habit, the more you stepped into the car, suddenly you could carry a coffee cup and back out. Before long, you could listen to the podcast, drink a drink of coffee, and navigate the driveway and the oncoming traffic simultaneously without ever thinking. Because it went from conscious decisions and focus to a habitual process of thinking that is done below the conscious level. That's the habit. Your body created your mind the parameters necessary to navigate those particular challenges without thought. That's a habit. And you have developed it. This morning, I found myself, I got up very early. I'm still on Philippines time, 12 hours different. So I was up at 4:30, which is unusual for me unless the Lord gets me up, and then I'm rather grumpy. I've never understood if he's the Lord of the day and Lord of the night, why he wakes me up at the night. And I've told him that. You never slumber, you never sleep. What's the point of early morning prayer? The night and the day are alike to thee. Doesn't night prayer work just as good as morning prayer? Y'all must be morning people. I've never understood those people that got up and said, get up at 4 and command the angels. The day and the night are alike. The angels are always awake. I'll just command them at 11 and sleep till 7. All right? That's the way I view it. I don't get into all that exciting stuff, that spooky stuff. And so I just talk to them all the time. But this morning it was 4:30. I rolled around, and then my alarm went off at 5. Actually, it was 6. I was up at 5. I think it was 6 when the alarm finally went off. But I got up, and I was stumbling. And I was walking, and without conscious thought, I hit the button on the coffee maker. And then I thought to myself, I didn't even remember doing that. While it whirled and spun and poured water, I thought, I never even remembered walking from the bed to the coffee maker. Because it's a habitual process of my every morning routine. And it required no conscious thought to get from my bed to the coffee maker. Because it is a process that is ingrained within my synapses. They fire naturally, and they tell me, you need coffee. And I don't need a light. I don't need a guide. I don't count the steps consciously. But somehow my body knows, get up, take a left, open the door, turn right, left again, 12 paces, push the button, sit in the recliner, hear the beep, get the coffee, and then wake up. I've done it so many times. It's a natural reaction of my body. Likewise, the habitual responses we have to stress are the same. 1 3-minute outburst of anger takes 7 hours for your blood pressure to normalize and your heart rate to stabilize in a normal sinus rhythm. 1 3-minute outburst. That's it. Because the endorphins that flood your body, the hormonal responses to anger and frustration, and you have to be very, very, very careful what defaults you move into and what you default to when stress rises. Is it anger? Is it aggression? Is it callous words? Is it a quick tongue? Is it a sarcastic response? Because just like the driveway and just like the coffee pot, they become habitual reactions that require no thought. Now, I love the fact that some of you are Googling to make sure I was right on that fact. Trust me, it just came out from the University of Massachusetts. But let me make it plain. We are creating processes within the fiber of our mentality. We are creating pathways of response that require no thought. And when we get angry, when we get fearful, we shut down the frontal lobe, and it's impossible to make rational thoughts because we are not responding to things in front of us. We are reacting to things, and those reactions are becoming ingrained into our processes. I want someone to understand, Pastor, a very simple truth. God is my refuge in trouble. And I have to condition myself that I will not run to the bottle or run to anger or run to fear, but I will run to him because he is the strong tower that I run to when I am afraid, when I am overwhelmed, when I am challenged. And there must be a decisive decision made in your spirit that you will not retreat to what was your default, but you will have a new mind in Christ. And rather than run to fear, you will run to praise. And rather than run to anger, you will run to worship. Rather than run to rejection, you will run to an altar. God is our refuge and strength. I love this part because I just look at it. Just quote it with me. Say, God is our refuge and strength. Say, a very present help. Say, a very present help in time of trouble. EJ. Are you present? Okay. Jared, are you present? He's still in the Philippines. That was so soft. His mind's here, his body's here, his mind's there. Deborah. My biggest fan figured out what I was after, okay? But God isn't just here. He's not just present. I just love the verbiage. Somebody say he's very present. I looked up that word in the Hebrew. It means excessively. Very present. It means he is not just present, he's really present. Excessively present. He is present, capital P, present. He is everybody say very? How do you get more present than present? You're very present. My wife was very present. Jared was barely present. But you know what it means to me? That God is where I need him to be before I need him to be there. He is very present. He is excessively available. He is there before I need him to be there. He is healing before I'm sick. He is strength before I'm weak. He is help before I'm hopeless. He is an answer before I have a question. He is all I need before I need it, because he is my refuge and my strength, a very present help in time of trouble. And you need to understand the simplicity of this verse in your faith, that before you need God, God already has what you need. Before you face adversity, he is already the solution from your difficulty. Before you were in sin, he was already the answer for your sin. Before you failed, he was already the restoration from your failure, because he is a very present help in time of your trouble. And there is nothing that you face that God does not already have your answer for. There is no situation you're in that God can't get you out of, because the lamb slain from the foundation of the earth, before man made a choice to fall and go his own way, God said, I already got a plan to get you out before you make that decision. Do you understand the beauty of that sovereignty? That no matter where you are, you're never lost. No matter what you struggle with, you're not alone. No matter how you feel overwhelmed, he is already your strength. I wish you believed it like that, that there's nothing you can face that you can't get out of, that there's nothing you're feeling that he can't save you from. I know there are times when you want to throw up your hands and say it's too crazy for me, but defy the urge to quit. I read an article about one of the tennis all-time greats. His name is Roger Federer. He was the #1 tennis player for 310 weeks. 237 of them were consecutive #1. He won 5 straight Wimbledons until he lost his 6th. He played 1,526 single matches in tennis. Would you like to guess how many he won out of 1,526? He won more than 80% of those matches in his career. He won more than 80%. He's a winner. He's a superstar. He's a finisher. But guess how many points he won in all of those matches? The percentage of points won versus percentage of points played, he only won 54% of the points. In other words, he lost every second point. That is amazing. And I read when he was teaching this, and he said, you teach yourself to think when you lose every second point, you learn. Don't dwell on every shot. You teach yourself to think it's only a point. I double faulted. I came to the net. I got passed again, but it's only a point. And he said, even a great shot, even one that ends up on ESPN's top plays, that too is only a point. And I quote him, when you're playing a point, it is the most important moment in the world. But when it's behind you, it's behind you. No wonder Paul said, this one thing I do, I forget the things which are behind. I have mastered the hard moments. I forget the wins and the losses. I forget the consistency and the consistency, and I focus on the moment. This one thing I do, I forget what's behind and I press on toward what's in front of me. I wish someone in this house could decide, God is your refuge. We won't worry about what hasn't happened. We won't worry about what's supposed to happen. But we will have solace in the reality that He is a very present help in time of trouble. Fight the urge to quit, because you will win if you don't quit. Paul said it this way. Paul, talking to a younger man, talking to a younger minister, he said in 2 Timothy 4:7, I fought a good fight. I fought a good fight. I finished my course. I have kept the faith. Henceforth, there's laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give to me at that day, and not to me only, but to everyone who finishes. Say this with me. Say, winners, focus on winning. Say that again. Say, winners, focus on winning. Say, losers, losers, focus on winners. I don't know if there's a more true statement I can teach you right now on this Sunday morning. Winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners. You're a winner. Satan's a loser. No wonder he's always focusing on you. You got what he can't have. He will never get what you already possess. There's no forgiveness, there's no deliverance, there's no freedom, there's no restoration. He is sealed in his fate. He has lost and he is a loser. So his focus is on you, the winner. But you can't focus on everybody else. You better focus on winning. And way too many Christians are focusing on other people rather than focusing on winning personally. I want you to make it. I want you to serve God. I want you to be victorious. But I got one thing in mind. Fighting a good fight, finish the course, and keeping the faith. And if you quit, I'm keeping on, keeping on. If you walk away, I'm going to keep on, keeping on. If you sell out, I'm going to grieve, I'm going to mourn, but I'm just going to keep on winning, because winners win. You need to get a taste of finishing. Tell your neighbor, say, you need to get a taste of finishing. Until people get a taste of finishing, we don't respect ourselves. You know what the greatest predicator of success later in life is? Chores when you're a kid. Somebody's laughing because you want to make your kid do chores, or you're laughing because you didn't do chores. I don't know which. I've read it over and over that the greatest indicator of success for young people is chores when they're young. I don't know why it's so hard to take out the trash at the Tisdale's house. But it must be hard. And I must be mean. But according to data and research, that trash taker outer is going to be successful. But until you've had a taste of finishing, you will not respect yourself. Until you follow through. until something is done. And I understand that your life is filled with tears and struggles and pain, but press on. Go through it anyway. Show up and continue to fight. I said show up, not shut up. But maybe we ought to do that too. I've always found it beautiful that when Israel is marching around the walls of Jericho, God said, tell the people to not talk. To march in silence, to set their face like a flint toward victory, a victory that has no military strategy, a victory that doesn't make sense, but just march around the walls in silence. And I've always believed it was because there was people like me that would want to evaluate analytically why this is a bad strategy and why this probably won't work, and the walls are too thick and the walls are too high and the enemy's too great. And God just said, don't talk about what can't happen, don't talk about what's difficult, focus on your job and get it done. Just shut up and march. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Just keep believing. Just finish what I told you to start. No matter the circumstances, no matter the difficulty, no matter what's in front of you, because if you don't fight through it, something will wither inside. People quit because things are out of control. Rarely do people quit what they control. True faith is letting go of control. Letting God stand by you and fight your battles. Too many get into a moment and they get into something where they don't get their way, or they get reprimanded, corrected. They're going through this, they're going through that. It's bad conditions, it's bad difficulties. And the first thing the immature mind says, I quit. But it is the hard thing that makes us strong. The dark will always be here. And you will have a never-ending battle with the dark. There's no finish line here on earth. The finish line is when we make it to glory. Henceforth, there's laid up for me a crown of righteousness. The dark is always here. The demons are always here. And anyone that tells you any different is lying. But you got to suit up and face the dark every day, ready to battle for your life, because it is a daily battle. But you are never alone, because he is your very present help in time of trouble. You are loved, you are strong, he will stand by you. Put on your battle daily and fight. We come to church, and we're always talking about sins of the flesh. Not being a whoremonger. Don't be an adultery. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't be mean. Don't be ugly. And if you're not doing a drive-by shooting on your way to church, you can probably pass for a Christian. As long as you're not doing something horrific, and on those visible sins, you're okay. But the Bible speaks of sins of the flesh and sins of the spirit. And there are some things that attack your flesh, and there are some things that attack your spirit. And I know people who have a terrible time controlling fleshly sins, but they got pretty good character. I know people who don't smoke and don't chew, don't run with girls that do. But you don't know what's wrong with them till you marry them. Or you get on the job with them, or you interact with them in business. They pass for holy until you find out they won't keep their word. Or they give up easy. Or they won't complete their assignments. Or you can't trust them to stand by you. And they won't fight along with you in partnership because they're wrestling internally with narcissism and selfishness. And they won't stand up and go with you into the fiery furnace. They run. So Paul writes to a young man named Timothy and said, I fought a good fight. He succinctly lets Timothy know being me wasn't easy, but I did it. Being me was difficult, but I never quit. Being me was the most difficult thing I ever had. And it wasn't in my clothes, and it wasn't in my sermons. It wasn't through the power of my hands. I just decided to fight a good fight. I was shipwrecked 3 times. I was beaten with a cat of 9 tails 3 times. 39 stripes save 1. But I kept on keeping on. My friends betrayed me. Ministry betrayed me. My co-workers betrayed me. But I just kept fighting. Are there any fighters in this house? You need to shout it right now. I will fight a good fight. I'm looking at people that you fought your way up. You fought to get the job you have. You fought to get on your feet. And you fight every day to stand. And you fight to carry on. And you fight to love. And you fight to live. And you fight to get out of bed. You fight with your fears and doubts and insecurities. I have fought with haters. I have fought with liars. I have fought with betrayers. I've even fought family. And not a one of us in this house hadn't fought ourselves. Fought our fears, our worries, our anxiety. We fought so long what other people call a fight, we just think it's normal. But the old man tells the young man, I finished. I fought and I didn't wear out. You may not have saw it. You may have only saw the glamour, Timothy. You may have saw the healings, the miracles, the sermons, and the crowds. But let me tell you something, young man. It was a fight to get where I am. What you did not see is I fought to finish God's race. I fought to do the purpose. I fought to do his will because this is a fight. But I didn't just fight. I didn't lose my temper. I kept the faith. My faith remained intact no matter how dark the night became, no matter who betrayed me, no matter who sold me out, no matter who criticized me. I lost a lot of stuff. I lost some friends, some strength, some courage, some time, some physical health, but I just kept fighting. And I fought a good one, and I kept the faith. I know you lost some money, but have you kept your faith? Are you broke but still believing? Are you lonely but you still believe? Been betrayed but you still kept the faith? I want to challenge somebody. If you lose your job, keep the faith. If you lose your family, keep the faith. If you have to downsize, keep the faith. If you can't pay the bills, keep the faith. If you got to move, keep the faith. If you're at your wit's end, keep the faith. If you get sick, keep the faith. If you're in pain, keep the faith. If you're betrayed, keep the faith. If your heart starts acting up, keep the faith. If you got to have a new kidney, keep the faith. Why don't you shout it? I'm going to keep the faith. I don't want one person under the sound of my voice today to be a quitter, to sell out to the hate and the anger and the vitriol of this society. I want someone to fight. Somebody say it, I will fight, and I will keep the faith. You see, listen, there is a danger to living a life of incompletes. And I'm concerned because we live in a world that is comfortable with incompletes. Going to school and getting an incomplete. Dropping out of the class and getting an incomplete. Working for the company and getting an incomplete. 3 or 4 sets of families, an incomplete. Nobody can count on us to stay. I want you to win. I want you to finish. To stay, you don't have to be a superhero. You just have to decide, I'm going to endure. I'm going to stick it out. I will not run. Let me ask you something. Can you keep staying past being happy? Can you continue on past happy? People used to come to my office and say, well, I'm leaving because they're beating me. I'm leaving because of adultery. I'm leaving because of abuse. I'm leaving because they're homicidal. Now they just say, I'm leaving because I ain't happy. I know y'all getting uncomfortable. Who told you you were going to be happy? What does happy have to do with anything? Happy is based on happenings. Joy is based on the strength of the Lord. Who do you know besides some fool on Instagram is happy all the time? Who do you know that's happy every day? Well, I feel the Holy Ghost trying to get a hold of somebody right now. You don't quit because you're not happy. You don't quit because people aren't nice to you. You don't quit because this is a fight. You don't quit because we're in a spiritual battle. You press on. To the person who keeps quitting, you hear me right now on the internet. To the one that keeps quitting, you better find the strength to get rid of that infection, that propensity to never finish. Paul said, I finished my course. I fought a good fight. I kept the faith, and I finished my course. I want someone to finish. I'm not trying to get in your business. Maybe I ought to say this. People who are focused on finishing and winning aren't nosy. I don't have time to worry about your stuff. I'm just trying to finish my stuff. And if you're so concerned about everybody else's mess, you ain't focused on finishing your own life. Finish what God put in your life. Listen, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Somebody say, give me the strength, God, to endure. Matthew 24:3, I gotta hurry. Watch this. And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, Matthew 24 and verse 3, the disciples saying to him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of coming to end of the world? And Jesus said, take heed that no man will deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye not be troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So maybe I need to quote it again. God is our refuge and strength. He is not our refuge from trouble. He is our refuge in trouble. So don't let politics scare you. Don't let society scare you. Don't let the news scare you. All these things must be, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. They shall deliver you up to be afflicted. They shall kill you. You shall be hated of my name's sake. And look at verse 10. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. Perhaps the most overlooked sign of the end days. Offense. Offense is an event. Being offended is a decision. It's one we make. Jesus said, offense will come. Difficulty will come our way. People will betray us. People will sell us out. People will lie. People will manipulate. Pain will come. Difficulty will assault us. Offense is a reality. Offended is a decision. An offense left unhealed moves into the second word you see, betrayal. And people who are offended betray relationships. They betray people that love them. They betray the goodness of God. They betray the church, the doctrine, and the word of the Lord. And when betrayal is left to ferment in someone's spirit, they become hateful. And they hate the things they used to love. They hate their families. They hate the church. They hate their God. But it all begins with a decision to be offended. It doesn't begin at offense. There will be days I don't shake your hand. It's your choice to be offended. There will be days your spouse is mean. More days than not sometimes. But it's your decision to be offended. Let me tell you something I've learned about jealousy. This is deep. You ready? You ready? Say it with me. Say, haters are gonna hate. I told you it's deep. But when they start hating you, you'll know you're winning. Because losers focus on winners. If nobody's hating you, your dreams aren't big enough. If you don't feel spiritual resistance, you're not obedient enough. If you don't feel demonic resistance, you ain't worshiping enough. But when the enemy comes in aggressively like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord raises up a standard against it. When you feel the resistance of the adversary, when the haters start hating, you ought to step back and say, I must be doing something right. Something good must be unfolding in my life. You'll know your vision is big enough when people start talking about you. For all of you that watch our church just so you can talk about it, you fuel me. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, and that's a good thing. But we got people that just want to say, what are they doing over there? Why are they doing it like that? What's happening over there? And they watch just so they can criticize. I must be doing something right. Because when the haters start hating, it just tells me I must be winning. I must be doing something obedient to the Spirit of God. I'm telling you, when you really confront the spirit of jealousy, nothing you do will satisfy them. Jealousy is cruel as the grave. Nothing will calm them down. Nothing will appease them. And it's a sign you're about to move into a favor and a blessing that God's got over your life, because God will bless you and the devil will hate you for it and he'll fight you. But don't you get offended because you're trying to appease people and not God. I fought a good fight. I kept the faith and I finished my course. I left some people behind. Demons have forsaken me, having loved this present world. Everybody can't go with you. And if you want everybody with you, you won't finish the course. If you're worried about popularity, if you're worried about people think, if you're worried about appeasing everyone, you will not finish the course. I want you to understand. Oh, I can't finish. I'm so late. So all y'all pray for all those that are about to come in here about 20 minutes. The Apostle Paul struggled. He said, take this thorn out of my flesh. And the Lord said, no. My grace is sufficient for thee. He prayed, saw all these people delivered and transformed, and he still had a struggle within his own flesh. And the contradiction between powerful outwardly and conflicted inwardly is enough to make you quit. But still, Paul finished his course even when God said no to his prayer. So see, sometimes it's not people you're offended at. It's God. When God says no, what is your response? When Paul said, God, take the thorn out of my flesh. I prayed 3 times. I mean, this is a big deal. I've prayed. I have sought you over this. Remove this pain from my life. And God said, nah. Not this time, bud. You need the affliction to become what I want you to become. Because you can't learn sufficient grace without a struggle. You can't learn that I am a very present help in time of trouble without trouble. So I'm going to leave the thorn. Paul said, I kept the faith. I finished the course. He said, thorn or not, I'm still fighting on. Problem or not, no or not, I won't lose my worship. I won't lose my praise. I won't give up. The thorn won't go. I can't beat it, so I'll outlast it. But I won't be offended. I can't get rid of it, but I'll just keep believing. Stand to your feet and let God speak over this house right now. I need somebody to fight. I need somebody to choose to be a winner. I need somebody to decide that you will finish the course. Let's just quote the verse together. Say, I fought a good fight. I kept the faith. I finished the course. Jesus, I pray over every person in this room right now that when they say those words, that they will make a decision to finish the course. I think if we parse the verse properly, fighting a good fight and keeping the faith is irrelevant if you don't finish the course. And Christianity is going to be littered with people who started well and they fought and they kept faith, but they never finished the process. I'm just going to ask you to make a commitment to Jesus Christ today, to finish the race. You say, I can't predict what I'm going to go through, Pastor. It's a mindset of finishing, of completion. I will fight on. My faith is not for sale. I will keep the faith, and I will finish this course. Raise your hands and talk to him all over this house right now.